Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome to the Autodesk Developer Summit. I see a super full room, so we're in really good company here today. A couple of things before we begin. There will be a Q&A section at the end of the presentation, so if you have any questions, just remember them and hold them for the end. I promise we'll get to them. There's 2 mics in the little hallways, so just walk up to the mic with your question at the end. We are also recording the session, so it'll be available to watch after the show. And please put your cell phones in Do Not Disturb. All right, so from a show of hands, how many of you in the room have played Baldur's Gate 3? Oh, wow, okay. A lot of you, that's awesome. And then how many of you are familiar with flow production tracking, or formerly ShotGrid? A little less, but a good number. So someone who's familiar with both of them very well is our next speaker. As a result, she has so many incredible insights to share on building incredible game pipelines, managing teams, and balancing creativity and efficiency. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage Sriranjani Parthasarathy, pipeline producer and creative workflow wizard from Larian Studios.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm here to talk about the magic which played a great role behind the success of Baldur's Gate 3. Today, we'll look into flow production tracking, a tool which enhances production with Jira Bridge, event driven automation that streamlines cinematic and animation pipeline, and dashboards that ensure seamless workflow management. A little bit about myself. Like I said, my name is Sri. I'm from Tamil Nadu, southern state of India. I started working with Larian in October 2022 when Baldur's Gate 3 was in full swing. Previously, I had worked in VFX industry and contributed to great titles such as Lost in Space, Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, and some of the Marvels. I'm a lover of nature, and of course, I loved K-dramas. Before we begin, I just wanted to say, at Larian Studios, our prime focus is to support player freedom. Larian is consistently expanding with studios at 7 different locations across multiple time zones. One of our latest achievements is setting a Guinness World Record with a script of over 2 million words. We even surpassed epic series like Game of Thrones. To date, Baldur's Gate 3 has received 32 awards, making it the 4th most awarded game in history. Finally, Baldur's Gate 3 made history by being the first game to win Game of the Year at all 5 major gaming awards ceremonies. On this note, I want to take a moment to emphasize the most crucial factor behind the success of Baldur's Gate 3, our team. This project was ambitious in every sense of the word, and it required the collaboration of hundreds of talented individuals. Our team wasn't just about technical expertise, it was more about a shared vision. From artists and writers to producers and QA testers, every person brought their best to the table, and this is what allowed us to achieve this unmatched success. The tools and workflows I will be discussing today, like flow production tracking and Jira Bridge, were vital in ensuring our team to do what they do the best, creating an unforgettable experience for the players. Now let's dive into the core of today's session, how we manage this immense project with the help of innovative tools and workflows. Let's talk about flow production tracking, our go-to tool for keeping everything organized and running smoothly. With real-time task tracking and customizable workflows, it lets the team stay on the top of their game. The best part? It integrates with tools like Maya, Jira, Unreal Engine, and many more. Flow makes managing complex projects a lot easier, helps us stay efficient, organized, and on track. It's been a lifesaver for projects like Baldur's Gate 3. Now let's explore how we overcame a major production challenge using flow production tracking. Now, how many of you have wondered what goes behind the scenes of massive RPG like Baldur's Gate 3? Today, we'll pull back those curtains and show you how production magic happens. Now, how many of you have watched these cartoons as a child? Yes, this series of cartoons are known as silly symphonies. Yes, game development is like conducting a symphony, except today half the orchestra is remote and the conductor forgot to bring their baton. Without proper tools, even the most talented teams can find themselves drowning in inefficiencies. A small fire can ruin a whole forest when left unnoticed. Small issues can spiral into huge ones during game development and can turn the place into hell in no time. This is why it is important to identify and resolve these small issues earlier on, whether it's a technical glitch or a miscommunication, to prevent them from escalating into major problems. We do have to acknowledge that in every project, challenges are inevitable, and Baldur's Gate 3 was no exception. Before Autodesk Flow production tracking came into picture in Larian, the entire development process revolved around Jira. While Jira is a great tool for technical teams, the art teams felt more at home with Flow production tracking as it had more features for them. And then came the big hiccup. Managing two systems and keeping everyone on the same page became a real challenge. To solve this, we introduced a critical tool that bridges the communication gap, Jira Bridge. Now, what is Jira Bridge? As the name suggests, Jira Bridge is a tool which bridges the communication gap between Flow production tracking and Jira. Jira Bridge was a game changer for us, enabling seamless synchronization between Flow production tracking and Jira. Jira Bridge ensured that changes made in one system automatically reflected in the other. This kept all the teams on the same page regardless of the platform they were using. Customized workflows, fields, and statuses to match the unique needs of different teams ensures efficiency. With these tools in place, we created a pipeline that supported the complexity and scale of BG3. Let's talk about the benefits of Jira Bridge. Seamless sync helps in saving time as no one needs to update or check every little change made. Less human intervention means less human errors. Clear, consistent information keeps all the teams aligned. Now, what actually happens on the under the scenes of Jira Bridge? At the heart of the workflow, Jira Bridge Web Service is a lightweight app that handles post requests to sync data between Flow production tracking and Jira. Based on the app that triggered the event will move to sync in Jira or sync in ShotGrid. The syncer then runs it to all the custom handlers, identifies the one that accepts the event, and passes it to the processor. The processor then updates the issues about tasks as and when it is required. Now, let's look at what actually happens on the Flow production tracking side. On the side of Flow production tracking, the event daemon associated with the Flow production tracking catches the event or the change that is happening through the event log entries and then moves it to the syncer, handler, and processor. Whereas on the Jira side, it uses webhooks to catch the event and sends this to the Jira Bridge web service, which then goes through the same process. To understand how Larian had set this up, I'm going to use a specific team as an example in which this is successfully implemented. Before looking into how Jira Bridge is implemented for cinematics, let's look at the workflow of cinematics. The cinematic workflow begins with story and design, where the core narratives developed, refined, and approved. Pre-production follows with voiceover recording, story modding, and mocap feasibility checks before capturing performances. The animation and camera phase work involves processing mocap data, setting up animations, and then finalizing camera movements. Post-production enhances the visual with lightings, VFX, sound, music, leading to picture lock. In the final stage, QA testing ensures that the cinematic meets standards before the final content is delivered. This structured process streamlines cinematic creation from concept to completion. So the departments that opted to stay in Jira were QA testing, and then tech anim, and then tools, DevOps, and all the code-based departments, whereas the teams in orange and pink boxes made more sense with Flow as it had more visual features for them. So we made a setup which made it easy for both the teams to access each other's data without having to update it twice. So let's look at how it actually happens inside ShotGrid and Jira. So to sync tasks from ShotGrid to Jira, or flow production tracking to Jira, the ShotGrid is actually the older name for flow production tracking, so you might find me mentioning ShotGrid here and there. So to sync tasks from ShotGrid to Jira, simply click the Sync in Jira checkbox for the specific task in ShotGrid. This action will seamlessly initiate the synchronization, creating the task under the appropriate epic. Once the task is created, just click on it to access its details. You will find the ShotGrid link in the detailed specification section in the Jira, which will take you back to flow production tracking effectively. Rest assured, any changes made in Jira will immediately reflect in flow production tracking and vice versa, ensuring a smooth and efficient workflow. Now let's look at a live example of how this actually happens. As you guys saw, whenever there's a checkbox ticked next to the task, it creates a Jira task within seconds, and a View in Jira button appears next to it. When you click on that View in Jira button, it takes you to the Jira task, and you can see that both of these, all the details from flow production tracking is synced to Jira. Later on, I click on Change the task status, and then now if I go back to Jira, I can see the task status has changed to in progress. Also, I have added, now I've worked on it and I've added 1 hour to that task, and now if I go back to Jira, I can see that it is synced as 1 hour in Jira too. So this is how it works for flow production tracking. The sync happens between flow production tracking and Jira. Now, what are the entities we sync with Jira Bridge? We sync several types of entities, including art assets, gameplay assets, game animation, rigs and armors, levels, cinematic animation, visual effects, and all the other post teams. While we could sync a wide range of details between Jira and flow production tracking, we prefer to keep the information in Jira less detailed. More granular details are stored in flow production tracking when needed. Currently, we only sync the following information from flow production tracking to Jira, and vice versa: statuses, bits, time logs, description, priority, notes, milestones, assignees, and pipeline steps, which are teams in Jira. Now, what are the other things that was tricky and flow production tracking helped us? We just have seen that cinematic pipeline consists of various teams which work together to bring a scene to life. For a single cinematic scene, there might be a number of custom animations which requires both mocap and keyframe animations. So the default pipeline of flow production tracking looks something like this. There's an entity, and there's a task that is under it. But our current cinematic pipeline looks something like this. There is an entity, and there's a task under it, but it also has another entity attached to it, which will have its own task. For example, as you can see here, cinematic will have a CA summary task under it, but it also has an animation under it, and the animation will have its own tasks. So this tricky pipeline was tackled by using a multi-entity field. So a multi-entity field is nothing but a column. You can add any number of same entities together, thereby linking them together. So what we did was we created cinematic as a separate entity with its own tasks and animation as a separate entity with its own tasks. Then we linked to these two entities by using a multi-entity field. Now this problem is solved. These two are linked. But the cinematic teams wants to know if the status of animation has been completed. They wanted to know the status, if it's in progress, if it's blocked, or if it's need review and stuff. So to tackle this, we had to use event daemon automation. Before going into event daemon automation, I just wanted to tell you guys about event log entries. I have talked about this in the previous section for Jira Bridge too. So what are event log entries? They are basically the logs or records of all the changes or updates happening in flow production tracking. So just a heads up, everything is tracked, which means if you accidentally delete something, it is easy to find out who did it. So for anyone who tends to be a bit carefree, be careful not to make a mess. Also, we can always retrieve any data from trash if it got deleted by mistake. So let's move on. What is event daemon? So event daemon triggers in flow production tracking are automated actions that runs when something changes, like a task being completed or a time log entered. So they work in the background to keep things running smoothly without manual effort. This helps teams save time and keeps workflow organized. So let's look into how the event daemon actually runs. For example, the cinematic team comes to me with a request saying that, for example, the task of tagging past task, when the changes of status of tagging past task changes to completed, the dependency task, which is summary task, should go to ready for work. So this is the request the cinematic team comes to me. So how do I set this up? At first, I set an event filter. So this event filter, I set it up to look for any task status change. So it looks for any change in the task status. So it brings back me all the events of status change in a task. Later on, I run it through validating conditions. What are the validating conditions in this part? First condition is the status change should be to complete. So it looks for any status change to complete. And the next validating condition is it looks for any task with the name tagging pass. So if the event is a task changes to completed and it is also belonging to the tagging pass task, the last validating rule is, does it belong to a cinematic entity? If it does belong to a cinematic entity, then it goes and looks for the function. And the function has all the processing event scripts. So what's the event script is going to be like? Look for the dependency task that is next to it, and then change the status of the task to ready for work. That's it. So first is it filters the event, and next it runs to validating condition, and then next it processes the event. So what are the other automations we have set by using event daemon automation? The first one is start date and end date. So whenever an artist changes the status of a task to in progress, the start dates go to the current date. And whenever the status is set to complete, the due date or the end date goes to the current date. This is very useful for the team as they get to know when the artist starts working off it and when the artist has completed the work. Later on, there are Slack notifications. To be precise, flow production tracking has its own email notifications and also inbox notifications, but our team works in Slack a lot and they don't use or check their emails every now and then. So we had to set up a Slack notification for them whenever there's a version change, whenever there's a task status change, or whenever they receive a note, all these notifications go to their Slack, so it is easier for them to look at it every time. And for people who already work with flow production tracking, they know that they might have already have this setup. It's named as playlist creation automation. So our animation team does their dailies every week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So a trigger takes place in the morning to create the dailies playlist for the animation team so that when they get in and they want to send their versions for dailies approval and stuff, they can just add their versions to this playlist every Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So this automation is very useful for every team. Similar to cinematic pipeline, the animation pipeline also depends very much on automation, derived by event daemon. It starts with pre-planning stage, it runs into mocap stage, and then if the animation does require a keyframe task, it runs to that, and then moves to the reviewing the animations. During the animation stage for animes, when the animator is assigned to previous task, the animate and automation assigns them to the animation summary task directly. And then reviewer also gets to assigned as Cine Anim Leads group. The cinematic artist who is associated with the animation also gets assigned to the mocap cleaning pass, as they also want to review the animation based on their requirements. So the entire flow of cinematics depends majorly on automations we have set using Event Daemon. So as you saw in the previous slide, when the animation summary task goes to complete, the animation completion task, which is a part of cinematic, goes to complete. So the cinematic team will know the animation has been done. Later on, as we move forward, the CA summary task and the VFX, SFX, lighting, music, everything gets completed. At last, when the lighting gets completed, the automation looks for the status that if it's changed to completed, it just goes and looks for all the summary tasks of that cinematics. If everything is changed to completed or not needed, it would be the main status of the cinematic will change to complete. So this is how the event daemon automation runs the cinematic pipelines on the whole. Here's a live example of how event daemon automation works. So as I change the status of lighting summary task to complete, the automation takes a few seconds to go and check all the summary tasks. And since everything is marked complete, I go and reload the page, and within a few seconds, I can find that the main status on the top right corner goes to complete too. This setup is very useful when working with tight deadlines, as the producer doesn't need to go and check this automation every time. So what are the other helpful automations we have set up? So as we saw before, the cinematic team has around 22 artists in Larian, and each group has its own lead. So whenever an artist is assigned to a task, their lead will get automatically assigned as reviewer through automation. This really helps the producers, as they don't need to, and leads, as they don't need to go and update themselves as reviewers. The other automations is that during tight deadlines, the heads and directors won't find time to go and check every platform to get their data or numbers. So what they do is they have their own Excels, and we try to update the numbers or the data from flow production tracking to their Excels on a weekly basis. This really helps them during tight deadlines. So here are some of the useful links that has a lot of resources, which helps you set up the event framework and the Jira Bridge. Other things that really helped and shaped production in Larian during BG3 was the dashboards. There are a lot of dashboards set up for artists, leads, producers, and directors. Let's look at the animation dashboard. So my animation dashboard is not just my animation dashboard. It's a setup for all the artists. So it's like my animation dashboard, my gameplay animation dashboard, my cinematic dashboard, and so on for every team. So what it actually has is it shows the split between different tasks that are assigned to them. For example, as you can see on the top left corner, I'm not sure if you guys can see it. It's very small, but sorry. What it has is it has the tasks that are in progress, and below that it has the tasks that are completed, and on the right side it has the tasks that are assigned to them which are not ready for work. On the down it has the tasks that are blocked. So it is, as you can see, it is a really great split for artists, and everything that the artist needs is in the same place, so they don't have to go and switch different views for their work. Also, artists can add their own time logs from this view, and they can add their versions, create animation, and create tasks under this view. So it is like a one view for artists inside Flow Production Tracking. On the right-hand side, you can see a Cine Art Leads dashboard. So this is a Leads dashboard which shows them all the tasks that are currently in pending review, and all the tasks that needs revision, and all the tasks that are blocked, so that they could see the tasks that are blocked and go and talk to the artist and see why it is blocked and if they need any help with it. Below the below, there is a cinematic dashboard. So this shows all the metrics for cinematic producers. Mainly, it shows the numbers split by different filters. For example, they will know if their artist, if a single artist was flooded with more tasks, and if there's a different artist who can help him with it. Also, it also shows the split based on Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, and based on the quality of the cinematics. So this number is very useful for production during deadlines, where they can just grab the number without having to update or sort it every time. So dashboards updates when there is a change in task, and this helps get the data in a timely manner. I have to tell you about the future. Now that every team has seen the futures and benefits of Flow, a lot of teams are opting in and are looking into moving into FPT. Many teams are showing interest in understanding how it works for cinematics. It has greatly helped our team during tight deadlines. I personally think Flow production tracking is a great tool for game development, and everyone should get their hands on it. With that, we have come to a conclusion. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
Hi.
Hi.
In implementing a system like this, one of the things that I've only dealt with smaller systems, but still, one of the things that has become like a considerable component of that is all the changes that means for contributors. And there's a lot involved in changing so much over time, I imagine. Could you tell me a little bit about maybe how you manage that, like the people side of that, and like tips and things, you know, from having done so much for someone who really wants to continue to improve?
I really expected that question to come, actually, because it is really tough with artists who have been working on a system for so long, and they can't suddenly change them out of nowhere. So what it actually takes is persistent. You have to be persistent with the team and start with a smaller team. So when you start with a smaller team, they look at it and they look at the benefits and futures and how it actually helps their team. Later on, when it actually works for their team, they talk with their friends. They talk with their friends and they tell that it's very useful, you should try it, and their leads come to me. This is how we moved from different teams. So we first started with cinematics. So that's how it's like very fully launched with cinematics. And then now we are with gameplay, art assets, arms and riggers, tech and M, and every team is looking into how useful it is with the production team and how useful it is for the artist, because it is a visual tool. Other than Jira, which is a technical tool, but here it's a visual tool. So it's you can see that reviewing is very easy in that. So start with a smaller team, and then make sure the team understands it very well, its use and benefits, and they will talk with their friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for the call. It was really great. You talked about the bridge between Jira and Flow. Is there a bridge that exists between Flow and Perforce or any other version control? And did you ever work with it? And can you talk about the experience?
Yeah, Perforce does have had an integration with Flow production tracking. It's something that you guys can develop within your teams according to your customization and stuff. But yes, it does have integration with Perforce. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
I was curious, a bit more nuanced of a question, I think, but are you restricting user access to fields like status or tagging in order to prevent event triggers that could cause issues downstream?
No, we are not restricting any access to the artist. The thing is, we make sure that it triggers on one side alone. So if it triggers on both sides, we give priority to one side so that there won't be overlapping on both the systems.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gibbs. My team works a lot with similar Jira integration, and I was wondering what one of your biggest obstacles were working with Jira automation.
Jira automation obstacles. The main thing is that Jira is more technical tool, and flow production tracking is a more visual tool. So what we try to sync between flow production tracking and Jira is something that we should always take into account. We can't like import everything from flow production tracking to Jira because it will become messier. So we have to take that into account. And the second thing that I would say that was a big issue with syncing between flow production tracking and Jira is that customizing it for different teams separately. So we make sure that every team has its own customization so that it doesn't overlap between different teams as to not cause confusion between teams.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm a producer on a small student project that has team members across the United States, and I'm wondering how, with your experience at Larian, you were able to effectively communicate task direction and expectations despite time and distance being a factor in assigning tasks.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, we have teams at 7 different locations, and one of our teams is at far distance, so it's in KL. So the main things that we actually face with the KL team is that there's no one to actually help them with setting it up. So I often have calls with them whenever they have trouble. So I'm always there for them. And the next thing is that before bringing the tool into the company, the first thing that we implemented is it with KL team. So we start from there. We solve all their problems first, and then we move on to the next team. So they're clear with whatever they have done. So now they are okay, and they have a knowledge. And I also have one more person there who has a pretty clear knowledge of what is happening inside flow production tracking. So whenever I am not there, she can help with the team. It's very, if there's not a dedicated person for this system, it's really difficult. There should be a dedicated person for flow production tracking, so it'll be easier for implementing it across the teams.
So much.
Thank you.
Hi, apologies if you answered this earlier since I missed the first part of the conversation, but I was wondering what is the sort of the groundwork you did initially to decide if Jira and the flow production tracking was suitable for the process and for the team? And once you made that decision, was it very difficult to modify or pivot or edit any of the fields you needed to add once you started to implement it and started to uncover certain things that you needed to track but you didn't think of before when you did the initial research?
So we did a lot of research before moving into flow production tracking, and it wasn't easier with Larian being a big studio and across multiple time zones. So the first thing is we splitted the tool between what are the features that really helps us and what are the pros and cons for using this. So the cons were very less. That's why we went for it. And the thing is, the team really needed this tool. They were very much suffering with Jira. Mainly the art teams were very much suffering with Jira. I'm not saying Jira is a great tool. It is a great tool for technical tools. But the team that flow production tracking really needs is art teams. And the art teams were really suffering. So we really needed it. So we didn't think for a long time. We just were like, we really need this tool. And the production team, it was really helpful for the production team. So they were like supporting us a lot.
Awesome. I was just wondering, like, once you implemented it, was it very difficult to start modifying it as you saw in use and you figure out, oh, wait, we missed this sort of feature or we needed to add this? Was it very difficult to kind of pivot or evolve the system as development went on?
I would say it wasn't that difficult, actually. Our artists were really, really supportive. They were like, we really need this system. So if you want to make changes as the days go by, we are ready for it. And they were up to it. So it all actually helpful for artists. So, and they were like very supportive. So it wasn't that difficult to implement this in Larian.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi. As you know, Jira supports a lot of customization, automation. So my question is, it's kind of being answered already, but what pushes you, like what do you see in flow production that Jira is not able to do, and what pushes you to make the decision, the studio to make the decision to switch to flow production tracking and build the infrastructure to support the synchronization and between Jira and flow production tracking?
Mm-hmm. The review tool. That's the main driven part here. Jira doesn't have its own review tool.
Okay.
Everything runs by as tickets. Whereas flow production tracking has its own review tool, which was very useful for the artists. They were like very happy with the tool. It was easy to give feedback, it was easy to upload the versions, it was easier to mark the annotations, and it was easier for everything. So that's why artists were like, we really need this tool. That was the driven part there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, Shri.
Hello.
Silly question. Can you tell us about the links that the free links that were available? Because I would like to implement those event.
Event daemon automations.
Yeah.
Is it from the presentation that you want me to repeat, or is it one?
Yeah.
Okay, the three things that actually happens is the first one is the event filter. So we use the filter to grab the event that happens or the change that happens. And the second one is the validating conditions. So we go through a lot of validating conditions. Is it that entity that we want for? Is it the name of the task that we want for? Is the changes, status change is what we want for? And the last one is going through the function or processing the function, where we set up the SG create or update or delete function there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay. I just take you guys to that slide. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. These are the links that you can use. Yeah?
Yeah. Hello. I want to ask, how do you guys maintain the correspondency between the Jira task and the flow tasks?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question?
So how do you guys maintain the correspondency between the Jira task and the flow tasks? Because our team also use the similar structure, but it requires a special PA to manually maintain the correspondency between the production management tool and the flow production tool.
Oh, okay. The first thing that we have set up is the rule that one of the systems gives the priority. Yeah. So if it triggers on the both side, we look for one system which we have given priority and sync it that way.
So you did to create the correspondency at the beginning of the work?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. And another question is whether each artist, they are willing to change the status by themselves, or you need a production team member to do that?
No, it's the artist. Our artists are very supportive in that side. They always change their status. They create their animations, they change their task status, they create their versions, and they do their dailies every time all by themselves.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, yeah, on my team we also use a combination of both Jira and ShotGrid. So I was wondering if through your tools you were able to get the automation of, say, closing Jira tasks once you get all ShotGrid tasks completed, or automatically transferring over time tracked from ShotGrid over to Jira as well.
I'm sorry?
Oh, like, were you able to, like, fully automate the closing of Jira tasks via ShotGrid itself?
Yeah, we are doing that automation. Yes, we are changing the status from ShotGrid to ShotGrid to Jira all by itself. So the automation happens all by itself. Thus, closing the Jira task happens by itself.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I don't know if you answered this already, but I was curious about the type of research that you did prior to implementing flow tracking within Larian's teams. I did something similar for one of my teams when it came to Airtable, but I'm kind of curious about what kind of like research that you did prior.
Yeah, so our team was in a dire need for this software, and so we had like I think a month of trial, and the team was like very loving this software. So they were like, and then we looked at what are the pros and cons. Our production team was the ones, so I can't take the whole credit because implementing flow production tracking happened before I joined Larian. So the team that did this was the animation and cinematic team, Leah Caldwell and Christian. They were the ones who were keen in implementing flow production tracking. They were the ones who did the whole research in it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I work in animation production, and I've used Flow before, and I've used Jira on some other projects, but I've never used it in tandem. I'd love to learn if there's a way you can go out and get some semblance of training in the corporation of using those two tools together. Is there's like a class, or is there like any online videos you can watch where it kind of shows exactly how the integration works, so that if an opportunities become available, you already have the training and the ability, you can step right in and just go?
There are like many online videos that Autodesk team have put up in YouTube and stuff, where you can look up the event daemon automation and how to set up the Jira Bridge and stuff. I can ask Robert to send the links to you if you need it.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, just kind of wondering, I'm curious about what your workflow looks like, just because there's a difference between, updating a database versus getting your artists to actually check the database and then go, oh, okay, this is what I need to work on. What do you find is the best way of notifying team members that, like, hey, these are your tasks, but then also, how do you prioritize? Like, okay, say an artist has 3 tasks, is there an automated way to go, okay, you should start here and then work your way down here, or do you leave it up to the artist's discretion?
So we consult with artists and see what the workflow is before setting the task template. Once we set the task template, it is already in the workflow. So it starts with the first task and then moves to the next task and moves to the next task. And we always add the dependencies to them, so that when that gets completed, the next task automatically goes to ready for work and it appears in artist dashboard. So it is easier for them. Okay, this is in ready for work, I can start working on it. And once they complete that, the next task will automatically go to ready for work and it will appear in their dashboard.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. So could you talk a bit about the art review process that you do at Larian? Because Flow offers a lot of different tools to actually review the artwork, like playlists and in the media view and looking at individual versions or tasks. Could you elaborate on that process a little bit?
So the art teams currently use the default web review tool with comes with Flow production tracking. It is very useful, where they can just upload their versions to the playlist like I've showed before, and then they just the leads to a QC using RV. And then they enter their data, like feedback onto it, and the artist will also view their feedback directly inside their dashboard. So that's how the setup is. Most of them, for dailies, the animation team uses RV, but for on normal basis, the cinematic team as a whole uses the web tool itself. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much. It's a bit of a niche question, but I work at a firm that deals both in visual assets in addition to voice, sound, music, those sorts of productions. Can you comment on how Flow can accommodate those sorts of assets as well? Is it built for that, or would you recommend a different software or production tool?
So yes, we do have our own review tool inside for production teams inside Flow production tracking. Just as how we review animation cinematics, we review the post teams the same way we do that. Since the post team comes after the cinematics, so once the cinematics is completed, we have a visual view of how it is, and then they attach their work onto it and then upload the versions to Flow production tracking web tool itself. So they do their reviews in web tool itself.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there still any things that you still would like to improve, things that you're currently working on or wish that maybe you could change?
Yeah, so someone in the group did ask about Perforce integration. So we are working on that in our tool. We are working to integrate Perforce integration, Perforce with Flow production tracking. That's what we are currently working on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I was wondering how your pipeline goes all the way down to QA. Do you have like specific QA departments for like animation, model, etc., or do you just like have one big group at the end, and how do you assign all the dependencies to that team?
So since QA is, let me go to that slide. Yeah. If you can see in the down bottom, there's a QA tasks. Those two are QA tasks. So when the whole cinematic gets completed, automatically the QA status goes to ready for work. So that's how the QA teams know it's ready for work, and they just get assigned to that task, but there's no split between them. We are, for BG3, this worked very fine, but for the next project, we might have those splits too.
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you. Is that all? All right, guys, thank you for being such a great audience and good set of questions. Thank you so much.